welcome to Tea Time. You're with Chetty Narula. And today on the show, we're at Champions Reef on the outskirts of Bangalore in Kolar. Lovely 9-hole golf course. On the show today, we have Target Corporation. Now, Target Corporation is a name synonymous to shopping back in the US. Target India's Managing Director and President, Navneet Kapoor, joins me on Tea Time today.
On the show this week, we have Navneet Kapoor, President and Managing Director, Target India.
We do work to make sure our business is successful, and this is a critical time for us. We are in the peak season for Target and for retail, so our teams are working hard to make sure that we have an outstanding peak season ahead.
In news, rookie N. Thangaraja of Sri Lanka wins the PGTI Players Championship, and Thidappa Suwarnapura of Thailand wins the Women's Indian Open 2013.
Navneet Kapoor, welcome to Tea Time.
Hi Chetty, great to be here. Thanks for having me over.
So let's start off with Target India and collaboration and GICs. What are the top 3 priorities for GICs today?
Wow, so GICs are the new name for captives now, as you know.
Right.
So it stands for Global In-House Centers, and they're increasingly becoming more important for their parent organizations.
True.
This started off as a back office setup for a lot of global corporations, but today they're a key part of the global strategy. For us at Target, our GIC or Target India is really a second headquarters or an extension of our Minneapolis headquarters, and it plays a key part in Target's growth and success. So for us, priorities include driving strategic capacity for Target. How do you allow more work to happen for Target so that we can grow faster? It also includes building deep capabilities that are differentiating for Target, and it's also a center for innovation for Target. So those are our top 3
And of course, business intelligence as well.
Absolutely. So business intelligence, e-commerce, mobile development, merchandising, marketing, all of the core functions that define retail is what we do from here.
While the primary focus is really on GIC and parent collaboration, is the broader ecosystem collaboration also gaining ground?
Absolutely. I think the broader ecosystem collaboration is more important than ever before because of the growing importance of GICs themselves.
Sure.
So if you think of the collaboration between the GIC and the vendor ecosystem, that's absolutely important,
Sure.
From a strategic perspective. There's also the collaboration between GICs and other GICs in the marketplace that we operate in. That's absolutely important. GICs in different locations, so same parent could have multiple GICs, and that collaboration is critical as well. I think it goes back to the earlier discussion we were having around the strategic capacity and innovation and deep capabilities, and you can drive all of that only when you have a robust ecosystem that you're working through.
Now, staying with collaboration, does collaboration really mean a loss of competitive advantage? Would you agree with me?
I think that's a great question, and the way we've thought about it is actually quite the contrary.
Really?
Collaboration is absolutely critical to build and drive competitive advantage, and it's more so now than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, again, given the role of the GICs. If the GICs have to play a major role, different than being a back office, they have to think and act like the parent. And that means they have to collaborate strategically with the vendor ecosystem or other partners, wherever they operate. And this gives them, for example, faster speed to market, an ability to tap into innovation. It's an ability to tap into niche capabilities, which they may not have the ability to build themselves in a time frame that's reasonable. So collaboration is critical. Of course, you have to be careful about who you collaborate with, but in fact, it's something that is a differentiating capability that GICs need to build more of.
Now, shifting focus a little bit back to your parent company in the US, you have been synonymous to shopping back in US, and Target is something that does not really need an explanation when you're in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
And off late, you've also moved to Canada.
Yes.
What are the future plans for expanding your global footprint now?
So Target's just ventured into Canada this year. We opened about 124 stores now, and that's a huge foray for us, and the first one outside the US.
Sure.
At this point, we do not have plans to open stores outside Canada or the US. Our strategy and focus is to really make both our domestic US market as well as the Canada market really successful. So we focused on driving that.
Now, revamping the internet portal is something which, for enhancing online sales, is a mission that became very critical to Target back in the US, and you also decided to do that in India as well. Weren't there questions like, can we really do something of this sort in India?
We were on Amazon, hosted on Amazon for more than a decade, or about a decade, and then 3 years ago we decided to move off Amazon and have our own e-commerce portal. And it's a critical part of our future strategy because the future of shopping is both digital and in stores.
Sure.
As we look to move off Amazon and build our own site, we had a fairly short time frame to do that. And we needed a strategy that allowed us to build scale quickly, and India was the natural partner and opportunity for us to tap into. Clearly, there was a question, could we do it from here? But Target took that leap of faith, and our team stepped up and lived up to that expectation, and we launched our Target.com portal in 2011, and since then we have a fairly large e-commerce and mobile capability here that drives and runs that portal.
Glad you mentioned e-commerce. We're going to discuss that in much more detail on the other side of the break as well. So it's a good time now for Navneet and I to take a quick break right here on Tea Time. We're going to see you on the other side. Welcome back. We're in conversation with Navneet Kapoor of Target Corporation, and we left off at e-commerce. We're also going to be discussing about how India is turning into some sort of a back office of the world as well on this segment. Now, are retailers very keenly looking at leveraging India's strength?
They are. Target is clearly looking to do that, and we've been around over 8 years now, and e-commerce is a key play for us from a capability perspective in India. I think India is developing into more than just a back office for the world. It's really becoming an innovation hub for the world as well. So if you think about the kind of talent that we have here and the ecosystem around innovation, it's truly fascinating, and it's changing every year and rapidly so.
So the India back office is something which is very crucial for your company back in the US. So apart from just providing business intelligence, helping them on the supply chain front, and apart from just IT outsourcing as well, you've scaled up to provide so much more. How are you benefiting your company back in the US, really?
We operate as an extension of our headquarters, which means if all retail headquarters functions that range from merchandising to marketing to designing stores for Target to, of course, e-commerce and mobile development, analytics and reporting, all of those functions are run out of here in addition to what our teams do in Minneapolis. So India is truly a very strategic play for Target. What this allows us to do, as I said earlier, is create capacity for Target to move faster. It allows us to tap into a talent pool that may not be available elsewhere in the world in the right scale that we need it to be, and it allows us to drive innovation. We are in a very innovative ecosystem here, surrounded by great talent, great companies, startups. And we look to tap into all of those.
Now, talking about startups, you also have a Target Accelerator program right now. Since you just mentioned startup, how are you helping startups now through this accelerator program of yours?
We haven't launched it yet. We are in the process of setting it up, and we are interested in working with the startup ecosystem because we believe innovation can come from anywhere, both from large players as well as small players. And India has a fairly rich pool of new innovative companies coming up.
So you do believe in the India startup story as well.
Absolutely.
At Target. And what is this accelerator program really going to do? Take us through it.
It's really about partnering with startups to figure out, how can we drive innovation faster for Target. So if you think of the journey that Target has to go through, we are transforming from a brick and mortar retailer into a multi-channel retailer.
Sure.
So essentially serving our customers, who we call guests, across channels like stores, e-commerce, and mobile, and making sure all of these are integrated. Because a guest today wants to shop anywhere, anytime, and we need to be able to enable that seamlessly. So all of that requires a fairly big change for brick and mortar retailers, becoming more digitally savvy, integrating our different channels. Technology is a key part of that evolution for Target. And that's where tapping into the innovative ecosystem that exists around us becomes very critical.
Interesting. Your turn to play a chip shot. Come.
Okay.
Lovely. So Navneet, what is really keeping you and your team up at night, really?
Great question.
Burning the midnight oil?
Actually, I have a great team here. We have an outstanding team here at Target in India, so we do sleep well. But if there's one thing that we do focus on is driving great business value.
Absolutely.
And we, as you know, we support a U.S. organization, so we do work to make sure our business is successful. And this is a critical time for us. We are in the peak season for Target and for retail, so our teams are working hard to make sure that we have an outstanding peak season ahead.
Where is the future of retail really headed? Let's get your perspective first on India.
So we don't have plans to enter India, as I shared earlier.
Despite the opening up of the FDI in retail, despite the Walmarts of the world making their way in, Target doesn't want to make their way into India, is it?
Yeah, I think we have, as I said earlier, our strategy is clear. We want to focus on Canada, we want to focus on the domestic US market, and we want to focus into our transformation into a multi-channel retailer.
What stops you from entering into India, though?
I think it's just a strategy thing for us right now. We need to focus on where we can drive greatest value for our
Sure.
guests and shareholders.
Sure. So in your opinion, where is the future of the Indian retail market headed?
The future is exciting. It's a growing market, one of the largest markets in the world. And I think the future is going to be exciting here. Lots and lots of players are interested, as you already mentioned, and we'll just look to see how it evolves.
All right. I have to figure out my chip shot now.
Yes.
And we continue talking.
Nice shot.
So how is the Indian team really integrated with the team back in the US?
Yeah, great question. We are a very globally integrated organization. As I mentioned earlier, Target India is a strategic part of Target. It's a headquarters extension. What that means is the teams work very, very closely together across all of the areas we spoke about.
Sure.
There's deep context that's been built up around retail over the last 8 years. There's strong understanding of what merchandising is all about, what supply chain is all about. Teams partner every evening, for example, India time with their Minneapolis counterparts using tools like video conferencing or telepresence and the likes. Lots of bi-directional travel that happens from Bangalore to Minneapolis and vice versa. And these are just some of the ways that we drive greater integration. We also have folks who come on long-term assignments from the US into India and vice versa.
I'm sure you face a lot of hiccups with an integrated model like that. Everything is not always hunky-dory. So what are really the hiccups of a back office being in India?
When you're working for a retailer, a big box retailer from India, and when we do not necessarily have a lot of big box retail presence in India, I think the biggest opportunity is to build that context for our team so that the business can be conducted effectively and with great value for Target. So a lot of the focus is and has been around that context.
Sure.
Apart from that, it's about building a lot of trust. When you have trust across the organizations, then you can drive great things. So we've spent time upfront building a culture that looks and feels like Target here, and we've built a lot of trust with our Minneapolis
So a
counterparts.
lot of training and development programs and a lot of leadership programs is something that you constantly undertake. Can you highlight some of these that you're doing?
Absolutely. So if you think of what some of our teams do, and we talked about analytics and reporting, that's taking data that comes every day into our organization and then building intelligence out of it. To do that, teams really need to understand the context of retail. So we drive a lot of training around, for example, merchandising.
Sure.
We immerse our team members into a store's experience when they travel into the US.
Sure.
We have video training programs. We have immersive programs here in India as well that allow them to truly understand what retail's about. So lots going on in that regard. We also have business and technology teams that coexist, and that allows, for example, folks who are working on technology to tap into their business counterparts here and understand the business context better.
So what really next for your retail story back in the US?
I think the big change and the evolution for Target is the transformation into a multi-channel retailer.
Sure.
We are a very successful brick and mortar retailer, and just completed 50 years of existence last year. We are a loved brand there, and now we need to transform into a multi-channel retailer that can serve our guests across the different channels. So that's really the big next thing. It's our big focus. It's the new way of doing business.
All right, on that note, it's time now for us to take a breather on Tea Time. Navneet Kapoor and I, Chaiti Narula, we will see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. Now, on this segment, we're throwing some light on e-commerce. E-commerce is a $200 billion plus industry back in the US. Do you think that in the US, people, and there is, of course, a trend which is setting in where people are finding it a little difficult to trek to their local malls and they'd rather buy things online. Is this a very conspicuous trend setting in?
I think there's clearly a shift in how guests or consumers are shopping today. And
Sure.
digital channels are definitely gaining momentum, and more shopping is shifting online or to a mobile platform. Having said that, I think the future is multi-channel, which means combination of bringing together the different channels together. And I think that's where Target can differentiate itself, by having the ability to serve our guests across these different channels. So for example, today we enable our guests to be able to buy online but then pick up at a store.
Sure.
Same day, and that's a unique capability we can offer, which a pure e-commerce player may not be able to offer. In our minds, that's really a multi-channel story versus just a single e-commerce channel story.
So the brick and mortar players like you are obviously realizing the inevitable power of online shopping as well. In fact, recently Macy's had converted 300 of their stores into distribution centers as well. Is that also a trend which is mushrooming, and is Target going to be following suit?
We are absolutely looking at different fulfillment strategies. So we're looking at, as I mentioned, for example, buy online, pick up at a store. We're also looking at, opportunities around could we fulfill from a store, so ship from a store, for example.
Sure.
So those are absolutely, potential opportunities that we want to pursue aggressively.
Sure.
And enable a very seamless guest experience.
Do retailers like you really run the risk of self-cannibalization because of your massive size?
Our strategy has been really to add to our guest base. So if you think of our expansion into Canada, that's adding to our existing guest base. We've also opened, for example, city Targets, which are smaller format, stores in densely populated urban areas versus the more, the larger population of suburban stores we've had.
Sure.
So it allows us to add to our guest base, and we also hope to tap into a larger share of the guest wallet through strategies like multi-channel. So cannibalization is not something we're worried about at this point.
Good. Now, sir, from purely a business perspective, the expect more and pay less strategy, that is something that has been very synonymous to you from the inception of Target. How has that evolved over the years till today? You've completed 50 years. Does that still hold true?
Yep, I think our expect more, pay less brand promise has held us in good stead over the last many years, and holds well both in recessionary times as well as good times. Because there are really two parts to that promise: expect more and pay less. So during good times, we focus a lot more on, enabling an outstanding shopping experience for our guests, wowing them when they, walk into a Target store. And during the tougher times, it's really focusing on that value promise, making sure that the guests understand that we are a discount retailer that offers products at a great price. So it's really a very good strategy and something that we don't see changing.
All right, so let's finish our game and we talk a little about your golfing escapades as well. Come.
Okay.
Let's get to know a little bit more in detail about Navneet Kapoor's tryst with golf. When did it all begin for you?
Began many years ago, and I finished my doctoral studies in the U.S. and took up my first job and had a little bit more money and a little bit more time to start golf, and dabbled around with it for a few years before actively pursuing it, which is when I got back to India about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Gurgaon, and a wonderful golf course there, the DLF Golf and Country Club, and really picked up my golf there and used to be an active golfer. Moved to Bangalore about 7 years ago, and kind of my golfing went down a little bit for the first few years, but I'm back at it again. And
what prompted you really to take it up? It's a very upper level management game. It's more of a CXO, CEO game.
It is.
Was that peer pressure that made you take it up, or was it just the love for the game?
I enjoy sports, so I play a lot of sports, and
Sure.
this one felt like something I had to try. It did feel initially like a very slow game, and whether I would really enjoy it or not was a question on my mind. So I had to try it out for myself, and
Sure.
and it's really an outstanding game where you pretty much compete with yourself. So when I did take it up, I got hooked onto it, and it stayed on.
Is that how you've been in your career as well, always competing with yourself and not with others?
It's been an interesting journey.
You don't come across too many young managing directors and young CEOs like you.
Yeah, I think my biggest learning through my career journey has been to pursue something that I'm really passionate about, and eventually move to pursuing excellence versus pursuing success.
Sure.
And that has helped me think about my career, my life differently. So I think success is really an outcome of just focusing on what you really enjoy doing and being good at it.
That's lovely. On that interesting note, thank you so much for joining me on TeeTime
Thank
today.
you, Chaiti. It's been a pleasure.
That's a wrap from Navneet Kapoor and me, Chaiti Narula, on TeeTime. I will see you next week again. Until then, may the sport be with you.